Hello everyone and welcome to week 7 of the Algebra 1 SOL Prep. Today we're going to be studying systems of linear equations. You will be needing your calculator to follow along in this lesson, so if you have not picked that up yet, please pause the video now and go get your calculator and then return to the video. We will also be using the notes handout that goes along with this video, and we will be referring to the notes summarized there as well as the example problems that are shown on that handout. The first sample problem you have is this one. What is the solution to the system of equations shown below? Remember that a solution to a system of equations given their graph is the intersection point. So in this system, even if the point is not shown or highlighted for you, you will still know that it is this point right here. That would be your intersection point. You need to write the coordinates for that point. To write coordinates, remember to go to the origin of your graph and then move along the horizontal direction first. So that is -4 because it's 4 to the left, and then up 1. So your coordinates are -4, 1. That would be your solution. In this other example, they ask you to show the solution to the system of equations shown below. It's the same idea. The intersection point should be the solution. However, if the lines do not show any intersection point, it means that there is no solution. So in this type of problem, you would select option D, no solution. In this next problem, they ask you what is the solution set to the system of linear equations, but now instead of giving it to you in graph form, they give it to you in equation form. We may use our calculator app to solve this type of problem when they give you a system of equations. So please follow along as we do this with your calculator. The first step that they write here is, if necessary, rewrite both equations into this form. You should have a number with the x plus or minus, a number with the y, then the equal sign, then another number. In this case, they all look to be in that form. That is called standard form, so we don't need to do anything with step 1. Step 2, we're going to be looking for this app called Polysymult 2. You're going to get your calculator. You will press the apps button that's right here, and the app that we're looking for is Polysymult 2. In your calculator, it shows up as number 4. In mine, it shows up as 7. But you will be pressing now as you follow along number 4. And it's going to say press any key to continue down here on the next screen. So any number that you press is going to take you to the next step. Then you're going to select in your instructions, it says right here, press 2, simultaneous equation solver. That's what we're going to be pressing. This second option, simultaneous equation solver. So you press 2. The screen that's going to show is just for your settings. You do want 2 equations. You do have 2 unknowns, and you want your answers in fractions. Usually this is the default, and you don't need to do anything on the screen. You just check that that's set up the correct way, and you want to hit next. The tab for next here represents this button right here. So the graph button temporarily means next here in this app. So you press the next button, and it's going to take you to some boxes where you're going to be entering the coefficients of your system. The coefficients are a 5, in this case, a -2, and a 7. And in the bottom row, you're going to be entering a 3, a +2, and a 5. So remember, you're not entering any of the letters, just the coefficients in the same order in which you see them. First the x, then the y, then the number. So in the first row, you press your 5, enter, then a -2, and that is the symbol for -2, then a 7. Make sure you press enter after every single number. 3, enter, 2, enter, and then 5, and you make sure you press enter after that very last button. Then you want the calculator to solve this for you. So right here is the solve tab. So you're going to be pressing this button that corresponds to solve, and it's going to be giving you your solution here. Your solution is the fraction 3/2, 1/4. So the 3/2 should be in your x position and the 1/4 in the y. So we see that in option A, the 3/2 first and then the 1/4. Make sure you match them up correctly. Here we have another problem where they ask you what is the ordered pair solution to the system of equations. Again, a system of equations, we can use our app, but in this case, we will need to do step number 1. They are asking us to rewrite both equations into this form. And we can see that the first equation has first the x, then the y, then the number, but the second equation is not in standard form, so we would need to rewrite it. You have your equation and you remember that the x term should not be here. It should really be over here. So we need to cancel it out from this side of the equation. You just plus 3x plus 3x. And what you really have is 3x plus y is equal to 4. The system of equations you're going to be using now is the 6x plus 2y is equal to 8 and the 3x plus y is equal to 4. All the other ones, you can go ahead and scratch over them so you don't accidentally use the wrong numbers. Only these. We go back to our calculator. You're going to press your app button, and remember that in your calculator it shows up as the 4th option and mine is the 7, but you're going to press 4. It's going to say press any key to continue, so you can press any key, you can press enter, you can press any number. When you get to this option, you're solving simultaneous equations. Simultaneous means at the same time, so we're solving 2 equations at the same time, so you select the second option. This page, we just hit next. And if you have numbers there from a previous problem that you did, right here in the center it says clear, so you can press the clear button and it'll clear it out for you. And you're going to enter the 6 right here, the 2 and the 8 of the first equation in that order. The 6, enter, then the 2, enter, then the 8, enter. And then you're going to be entering a 3, a 1 for the y because if the number doesn't show it's a 1, and a 4. So 3, enter, 1, enter, and then 4, enter. After you've made sure you hit enter after every single option, you press the Solve tab and the solution is going to show here. It might look a little strange. This solution has x's to it. It may look kind of confusing. What that means is that this solution will work for any values of x you plug in. When you get this, it means that you have infinitely many solutions because you can plug in any number you want and get a solution for that system. So again, when your calculator is going to show something funny like this with x's and particularly here x is equal to x, you need to choose infinitely many solutions. You may be wondering, well, how can I tell apart if it's infinite solutions or no solution? And that's what we're going to see in problem 5 here. It's the same steps. We're still going to be using our calculator, so you're still going to keep going back to your app. Wherever you enter the numbers, in this case you're going to enter a 3, a -1, and an 18 for the first equation. 3, enter. Remember that this is a 1 right here, so it's a -1. Those signs must be included in the calculator. -1, enter. And then an 18, enter. And we might be tempted to enter a 1, a 3, and a -7 here, but hopefully you've noticed that this equation is not in standard form. It should have the x term in the front, so we need to rewrite it. This 3x needs to be subtracted from this side, placed over here. What we have is a -3x. This y is positive, so you're going to add the y is equal to -7. So the second equation that you're going to be entering into your calculator is a -3, a +1, and a -7. Always double check that the equation is written in standard form. The x term first, -3, enter, then a +1, and then a -7. And when you hit solve, in this case, what you're going to see is the screen telling you that there's no solution. So there's really no confusion about when it's infinite solution and when it's no solution. No solution will actually be spelled out in your calculator, and in this case, you will choose that option, no solutions. In this next problem, they're asking you what is the x value of the solution to the given system of equations. I don't want you to think that because they're asking you the question differently, you're going to do something different. You're still going to be using the same procedure to solve this system. However, in this problem, they only want the x value of your solution, not the entire coordinate, like in all these other ones, where coordinate points were presented as your solutions. So in this case, after checking that both equations are in standard form, which they are, the x, then the y, then the number, the x, then the y, then the number, what you're going to be entering in your calculator, which is a 2, a 1, and a 9, and then a 6, a -2, and a 32, you go ahead and enter it in your app. There's your first equation entered, and then there's your second equation entered. You hit solve, but because all they want is the x value, you will only be choosing the first one of the solutions that show up. The x1 corresponds to the x, the x2 would correspond to the y. In this case, the answer is only the number 5. If they would have asked you what is the y value of the solution, then in that case you would have given the second option as your answer, a -1. So always read carefully which one of the two coordinates they're asking you for, and then choose the correct one. The first one's x, the second one's y. Here we have a word problem, and we have instructions on how to solve these types of word problems in our notes that we're going to be following. Here they say that at this beauty salon, they offer manicures for $12 and pedicures for $20. Julia has so far spent $120 for 8 visits to the salon, where she's gotten either a manicure or a pedicure. Which system of equations could be used to find how many manicures M and pedicures P Julia has had done at this salon? Well, we're looking at our options. We have one option that shows where you're finding how many of each item, and we have another option that shows where we're finding the cost of each item. Going back to the problem and reading carefully, we see that they're really asking us for how many, quantity, how many manicures and pedicures. So we get rid of this option. We're dealing with this, how many of each item. To set up a system of equations where they're asking you how many of each item, the first equation is going to be the first item we're talking about, which in this case we're talking about M, plus the second item they're talking about, which is pedicures P, is going to be equal to the total quantity of those items, which if we read here, she has gone 8 times. So there's 8 of them that have been done. Then the second type of equation, the second equation of the system is going to be the value of item 1. In other words, the value of the M's multiplied times the M. Well, the manicures were $12. So it's going to be $12 M plus the value of the second item. In this case, the second item is pedicures. Pedicures are $20. So it's going to be 20 P, and that's going to be the total value of both of those items combined. And we can see that Julia has spent a total of $120 in both of these items. So all we need to do is match up which one of these systems looks like what we just got here. Please pay attention to the location of the total numbers out here and of the 12 and the 20, because all these options use all those same numbers. We need to absolutely sure that the numbers are in the correct spot. In this case, it looks like option C is the one that puts the numbers in the same order in which we have in our system, as well as the first equation has the 8. So we select that. We also have one more word problem here. They're saying the Hamilton family and the Nguyen family are at the store that sell ice cream cones and popsicles. The Hamilton family got 5 ice cream cones, so you can go ahead and write the number 5 there. And 2 popsicles, you can write that as a 2 to find it easier to find, for $14.50. The Nguyen family spent $8.50 for 3 ice cream cones, so you can write the 3 there, and 1 popsicle. You can write 1. If C represents the number of ice cream cones and P represents the number of popsicles, which system of equations could be used to find the cost? And it's good to underline what we're looking for. Find the cost of each ice cream cone and each popsicle. Again, we have 2 options for word problems. One of them is to find how many of each item, and the other one is to find out the cost of each item. In this problem, they're asking you for cost, so it's a type 2 problem right here. So what we have to do is set up the first equation, and we notice that there should be 2 situations. Those 2 situations in this problem are what the Hamilton family purchased and what the Nguyen family purchased. So for each situation, we will write our equation. How many of item 1? Here the items are the ice cream cones and the popsicles. So for the Hamilton family, I can see 5 of the ice cream cones, which they're calling C. So 5 of the ice cream cones, and that and is plus, so we're going to write plus 2 of the popsicles for $14.50. Then we read the second sentence. The Nguyen family spent $8.50, and we know that the totals go over here at the end of our equation. So even if they gave it first in the equation, it actually goes at the end because it's a total. For 3 ice cream cones, so that would be 3 of the cones plus 1 of the popsicles. Here we have our system, so we just need to see which one of the options presented here represents the system we developed up here, keeping in mind where the positions of each number should go. When you look for these in your solutions, remember that when there's a 1 in front of a variable, usually that 1 is not written. So it would really show up like this. So don't try looking for a 1. If it's just a 1, it won't be written. What we can see here is that option D is the one whose position of the numbers and the equations all look exactly the same.